The Anti-American Heel. This is one that I feel became cliche a long time ago. I remember watching the WWF in 1993 when Ludwig Borga was introduced. And by that point, after the rock and wrestling era, we'd had every evil foreigner you could possibly imagine. So by the time we got to Ludwig Borga, it was like, wow, really? We're at war with Finland now? I mean, no knock on Finland, but it just seemed like a really random place to, produce a evil wrestling guy from and introduce him as, his sole character is, I'm from Finland. Finland is better than America, therefore I hate America. And I've really gotten sick of that kind of character. It's just so uncreative and lazy. Just very, very lazy to introduce a character with, that kind of traits. And WWE, to be fair, has gotten better about it. I mean, they've introduced guys like Wade Barrett and Sheamus and a few others, Drew McIntyre, that are from other places, but they aren't just anti-American assholes, which, I have other problems with those characters, but at least, they've steered clear from stereotyping with those guys. But, TNA just introduced Mexican America, and their whole shtick is, we're from Mexico, Mexico's better than America, therefore we hate America. And it's just old. We've seen it over and over and over again. Half the villains in wrestling's history are anti-American assholes, and there's no reason for them to be anti-American. That's where it doesn't work. See, the anti-American characters that really worked, the Hart Foundation in 97, Muhammad Hassan, LAX in 2006 for TNA, the ones that really worked stemmed from something natural. Like, in Conan's case with LAX, I don't doubt for a second that he believed every word of what he was saying. He was not playing a character. Like, he honestly believed every promo that he delivered. Hart Foundation. The American fans turned on Bret Hart in favor of Steve Austin. He felt betrayed. So then he's like, you know what? Fuck America. It wasn't a case of where, I'm Canadian, so I have to hate America. It wasn't that. It stemmed from something natural. Muhammad Hassan, they took an American who felt like he was being mistreated because of his heritage, and he was angry about that, and he didn't have a problem pointing that out. Again, very different take on the character, which was more interesting. But most of the anti-American characters, like La Resistance comes to mind, like I said, Mexican America, Ludwig Borga, Yokozuna to a degree, so many of those characters are just boring, and I don't care. And it also seems cheap, that it's like, I hate America, boo! It's one of those cheap heat things that I've really just gotten sick of. It's almost right up there with making fun of the local sports teams as far as getting cheap heat goes, and it just bugs me. Just because a wrestler's foreign, or just because he looks foreign, like Muhammad Hassan, for example, isn't actually Arab, he's Italian, but he's an Italian-American, I believe. But just because they look foreign or they are foreign doesn't mean they have to be an anti-American character. You can find other avenues of their personality to try and present them to the masses. I know, I've trashed Wade Barrett and guys like that, and I don't think they're very interesting, but there is a way to let them have their own unique and natural personalities. You don't have to put them into these stereotype roles of, foreign equals anti-American, whatever, boom, boom, boom. It's just one of those things that's, it's boring and stale, and I think that there's plenty of room for more creativity. Okay, the one I'll be knocking here is a very specific segment that I've only seen the WWE do. WCW may have done it, TNA may have done it, ECW, I don't know. If they did, I never saw it, or I just don't remember. So if anybody wants to call me on it, just go ahead and post it in the comments section. But there's a very specific segment that I've seen the WWE do many, many times, and it always annoys me. And I've called it teasing a fight, even though I understand the whole show is about basically teasing and building fights up to pay-per-views where ideally we will pay for them. But there's a very specific segment that they do. Let's say a babyface, John Cena, just for the sake of it. And he says his fucking catchphrase, you want some, come get some, whatever. And the heel will stare at him. Then he'll walk down the ramp very slowly. Walk down the ramp. He'll grab the ring ropes, peer in, stare for a second, then he'll back away and just walk back up the ramp and not fight the guy. I have so many problems with this. Number one, well, two problems, because, two translates to a lot. Number one, who the hell does this in real life? Like, okay, if you get challenged to a fight that you don't want to take part in, you do not want to fight this guy, but he challenges you to a fight, are you going to walk all the way up to him and then go, and then turn around and leave? No, you're just going to walk right out the door, most likely, if you're going to pussy out like that. I mean, if you're going to pussy out, you're not going to put up all the theatrics of walking up to the guy first and then completely pussying out. Another problem I have with it is that we've seen it 100 times. We know that the heel is not going to fight the babyface because of how the segment plays out every single time it's done, over and over and over again. So why waste the TV time? It's one of those things that TV time needs to be better spent, and that's not a good segment to spend it on because it's the same crap over and over again. But I understand why the WWE does it. Wrestling is a very unique form of entertainment in that it combines elements of television, but it also has a lot in common with stage performance and stage acting and theatrics and things of that nature. So I understand what they're doing. They're trying to play to the crowd and whet their appetite to make them want to see the fight. And sometimes the elements of television and stage performances clash in wrestling, and other times they work seamlessly depending on how it's done. And that's a case where I think the stage theatrics part of it hinders how it's presented on television, if that makes any sense at all to anybody. It's just one of those things. I think it would be better served to just portray it more realistically and just have the heel walk out the door and not fight the guy. Why stretch it out for that extra 30 seconds or whatever? It just seems pointless. For some reason, and I don't know why, Vince McMahon has this idea in his head that every single person in his audience is a complete moron, and as such, they have terrible memories. So, to compensate for that, he has to repeat everything over and over and over again. Listen to the announcers, and whenever they're trying to tell a story, they will repeat the same phrases over and over and over again. Whenever a wrestler is trying to get a nickname or a title over, they will have the announcers repeat it over and over and over again to make sure that nobody forgets it. TNA does it once in a while. Mike Tenay on commentary gets a little repetitive sometimes, but the best example I can use to highlight this, go back and watch the last Raw before WrestleMania 27. How many times did they have a guy point to the WrestleMania sign? How many times did they have two guys stare down in front of the WrestleMania sign? How many times did they have a shot that included the WrestleMania sign? God damn, they did it with Jack Swagger, for Christ's sake, and he didn't even have a match at WrestleMania. And the sole purpose for doing it was to make sure that we didn't forget that WrestleMania was this coming Sunday. That was the only reason they did that. And it just got annoying after a while, because it's like, okay, dude, seriously, we get it. WrestleMania is this Sunday. It's one of those things that I wish the WWE would respect the intelligence of their audience and just assume that we got it the first time. Assume that we understand your message. And assume that we're smart enough to put the pieces together ourselves. A little subtlety goes a long way, I think. And I think a little respect for your audience goes a long way, too. And I just wish they would, present their product a little bit more intelligently and not feel the need to repeat everything over and over and over and over again, because it just gets annoying after a while. Alright, this is another one that ties into the whole stage theatrics versus television presentation that I've been talking about, but always playing the theme song. Have you noticed that they play the theme song for everything? Like at the start of a segment, when they're interrupting a segment, when they're doing a run-in, when they're doing a beatdown and the beatdown's over, whatever. They just always play the theme song for everything. And again, tying into the whole stage theatrics thing, they do it for the crowd reaction so that they know who's coming out, or they know the segment's over, or whatever, whatever point they're trying to get across. But a lot of times I feel like it takes away from things, namely spontaneity. Is it really a shock when somebody's doing a run-in when they play a theme song right before they do the run-in? Or is it a shock when they interrupt a promo segment by using their theme song, and when it's one of these deals where it's 5 or 6 people that interrupt the segment and they all play their theme songs along the way, it really does feel like this scripted segment that they did word for word and not something that's actually happening or something that's natural and spontaneous. And my favorite fuck up ever was when Judgment Day 2001, Kane was doing a run-in the main event, and they set off his pyro, the lighting, and the theme song, everything. But while all that was going on, they completely missed the finish. Austin had pinned Undertaker while all that shit was going on. It's one of the funniest fuck-ups ever. I think it's funny. But it's one of those things that they do for the crowd, but when it plays off on TV, it kind of takes away from certain aspects. And it can work. Like, WrestleMania 8, I don't think the segment works as well without the Ultimate Warrior's theme song. So it's one of those things that you have to pick and choose and decide where it works, where it doesn't. When can you be spontaneous? When can you plan something out and make it look like it was planned to be this way? Whatever point you want to get across. But it's something that really needs to be worked on. The ref bump. TNA haters, you know exactly where I'm coming from with this one. When I was a kid, I hardly ever saw ref bumps. In fact, the first time I remember seeing it was WrestleMania 6, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. And it was a shock back then because it was like, holy shit, what are they going to do? There's no referee. Now it has become so overused, so overdone, that it's almost expected, especially in TNA. In TNA, you will see at least 3 ref bumps per pay-per-view. I guarantee it. At least 3. And it's just one of those things that's become just trite, overused. Again, and it's not shocking anymore. We expect it most of the time. It'd be more shocking if the referee didn't take a bump. And it's bad enough that the referees are like the worst referees on the planet. I mean, we've already been asked to accept that these guys are just stupid characters that would never have a job in the NFL being a referee. Well, they might. I've seen some stupid calls in the NFL. But, God, but to have them like sell these bumps like death over and over and over again, and that's another thing. They sell it like they've just been killed every single time, which to me is kind of unrealistic. It gets annoying after a while, and it takes away from the match. It's become more of a cheap trick than it is something special to hold in reserve just to shock people once in a while. That's one of those things that started in the Attitude Era. Ref bumps were happening all the time, and it just never fully went away. And if you want to see ref bumps, you'll see plenty of them in TNA. It happens almost every show.